Okay, welcome back to Chef Blacke's Kitchen. You Can't Cook. Today we're going to prepare what some people like to call up north in New England an American Chop Suey, and out in Michigan they like to call it a goulash. It's more commonly known as a goulash. I don't know where they get American Chop Suey from, probably because it's got noodles in it, but it's the furthest thing from chop suey. So we'll call it goulash. I had a request from somebody for a recipe for goulash, and I'm going to take you through the steps of making it. It's pretty simple. And we've got a couple pounds of ground beef. We've got about 3 or 4 leaves of fresh basil, 2 bay leaves, nice big onion. I've chopped up some red and green pepper. There's really no rules on what you're going to put in. I got about a tablespoon of fresh chopped garlic, a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, oregano, and black pepper. Got a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, and then another 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. And what I like to do with the diced tomatoes is I'll drain them, and it depends on what you're making when you're using diced tomatoes. If you're making a soup or a sauce, and I'll save the juice. For this dish we don't particularly need the juice because we can have enough liquid in there as it is. And then I take the diced tomatoes and I put them on a roasting pan, give them some salt, pepper, and drizzle them with some extra virgin olive oil. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees, and then I like to stick them in there and roast them for about 20 minutes. And what that's going to do is really bring out the flavor in those tomatoes and season them up well, and add a little more flavor to it. My wife's been wanting to limit her carbs, so she's been on me about how much I cook, and I'm going to make her fat. So I found a low carb pasta. It's called Dreamfield. It's only 5 grams of carbohydrates per serving. It's as good as any regular pasta out there. So if you're looking to curb your intake of carbs, you might want to try this pasta. It's really good. And we're using elbows for this particular dish. So to get started, just take some EVOO. You get your Dutch oven nice and hot. Put about 2 tablespoons of oil in there. Let it get hot. Add your ground beef. And get that browning. Break it up. You don't really need the olive oil, but I got more of a lean ground beef, and I just like the extra flavor that the olive oil lends to the dish. So you get that browning up, and while that's browning, you're going to cut yourself up an onion. What I do is slice off the top part, leave the root intact. Cut it on the radius. Now you want to chop your onion. Easiest way to do that, flat side down. Give yourself some slices along, don't go all the way through. You can leave that root intact. It'll help hold your onion together when you're chopping it. Cross like that, give it a little slice down the center, and then as you cut it, you got chopped onions. Pretty easy. Now the most important thing when you're cooking, a lot of people tend to get overwhelmed. If you take the time to pre-measure and chop all your vegetables, you have everything ready prior to actually cooking. And you're going to find that your whole dish is going to go a lot easier. You're not going to be overwhelmed wondering if you've got something. The biggest thing in your cooking is organization. Set yourself up, pre-measure everything, pre-cut everything. And if you've got downtime between particular portions of the dish. Take that time to clean up, do the dishes that you're not using anymore. And by the time you're done with your dish, you've actually limited the amount of work you end up with at the end of it all. Get that meat browning good. Not a real fan of this little tabletop oven, or burner I should say. Put those aside. And we also want to take fresh basil. I got about 4 leaves here, 4 good sized leaves. The easiest way to cut this stuff up is we'll cut it in what we call a chiffonade. Just roll your basil together like that and just cut it. It gives you nice little strips. Like confetti, that's called a chiffonade cut. And if you want to make them smaller, just take them, give them a couple of slices across, and you break them into smaller pieces to blend in there better. The biggest part of your job is going to be prepping everything. Once everything's prepped, your dish is going to go together pretty quick. Now, one of the concerns that this particular person told me is they just can't seem to get down the knack of cooking. They can't seem to master it. Well, anybody can master it. You can master it. If I can master it, you can master it. The biggest thing is having the time to concentrate on your dish. When you're chasing kids around, you got a ton of things that you need to get done if you're running a business or anything else. It makes it a lot more difficult because your mind's not on your cooking. It's easy to forget things. But when you can concentrate on your cooking, if you make up your mind you're going to make a certain dish, put everything aside. Forget about it. It'll be there when you're done. Concentrate on the dish you're working on. Prep everything beforehand. Measure out all your herbs and spices. Cut up all your vegetables. Get your cans ready. Everything you're going to use. Pre-do everything. And then it's just a question of picking up and going. Next step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, just in order like that. Keep yourself in order and organized, pre-cut, and your dishes are always going to go smoothly. When you're cooking, all your mind should be on is your cooking. And that way you can concentrate, you're not going to forget anything, and your dish is going to come out great. Now if you're just beginning, follow these steps. Do them step by step. Concentrate on your work. And you'll be surprised at how good of a cook you really are. And cooking is very forgiving. You're going to make mistakes along the way. But most of your mistakes are pretty much going to be edible and you'll get better as you go along. But if you just follow these steps, this is a very simple dish to do. It's a good dish to start with. It'll kind of build your confidence. When you're done, you've made a great dish that you're going to be pretty surprised with. Now once your meat is brown like that, you can start adding your other vegetables in there and let them get softened up a bit. Put your garlic and pepper and everything in there. Smells pretty good already. Just with smell-o-vision, you'd get a good idea of what we got going on here. But it's a very simple dish. It's a hearty dish. Your family's going to love it. And they're going to wonder where you got this great skill from. Just let them work in there for a little bit. Let them soften up and all melt together. secret. Some people don't like it, some people do, but I find it to be quite tasty. Kind of brings out the dish. Take a little nutmeg. And just give yourself a dash of nutmeg in there. A very subtle flavor, but I think it really brings out the dish. Okay, set aside our bay leaves. Let's get our salt in there. About a tablespoon of, I use kosher salt. Ah, that smells good. Now I used to be an electrician. I worked out in the cold and broke my back for years, and if I knew that my life would be a lot easier just being a wife to my wife, I would have done this a long time ago. I enjoy it too as well. Take your seasonings. You got a tablespoon of dried oregano, a tablespoon of Italian seasonings and some black pepper. Sprinkle those in there. Mix those around. Just let all this meld together and let all those flavors release, and the oils and the herbs work their way through there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our crushed tomatoes. Work that in there. Oh, it's smelling good. At this point now, we're going to turn the heat down a little bit. You don't want to get that burning on the bottom, so you can bring it down to about a medium heat and let that start to simmer. Now another little thing I like to do. Nothing like a pasta dish with a little bit of red wine brought in there. Very rarely do I make a tomato based dish without using a little bit of red wine. I normally like to use a Chianti, but I don't have it here on hand. I've got nice Cabernet Sauvignon. It's not expensive. Trader Joe's makes a great wine. It's about $3 a bottle. Excellent wine. It's a Charles Shaw wine. If you're familiar with it, it's very good wine. Rule of thumb, don't cook with a wine you don't want to drink. I'm taking it. We'll add about a half a cup of wine to that. Make sure you save some for yourself. It's always good to have a nice glass of wine while you're cooking. Oh, it smells so good. Let that all work in there. One more step. This is one of the most important steps of the whole process. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, as we say here in Florida. Ah, that's good. Helps you relax and enjoy the process of cooking just that much more. Ah, now that's kind of what you're looking for right there. You see that? And you can see the colors of all the peppers and green pepper, red pepper, the nice onions. You can smell that basil. That wine just gives it a little more depth. Just let that simmer a little more. And while we're waiting, it's a good time to clean up. So as you clean as you go, if you notice my workspace, it's getting lighter and lighter here. What I'd normally be doing is the dishes, but I don't want to bore you with that. But this stage, now take the bay leaves. What I like to do is at least crack them when you throw them in there, and it'll help release that oil in there. And you'll pick these out later before you add your pasta to the dish. If you can find them, that's good. If you can't, don't worry about it. If it ends up in somebody's dish, it's supposed to be good luck if you get the bay leaf in your dish. Ah, that smells so good. If I wasn't already married, I'd marry myself. All the ladies, they'll let me go. They don't know what they got rid of. Well, maybe they do, but if I fed them like this, they'd probably put up with a lot more of my bullshit. That's probably why my wife now keeps me. Some of the meals I make are worth a little bit of bullshit, but I'm really not that bad of a guy, I don't think. I look at cooking kind of like writing music. It's art, it's painting with taste, like music is painting with sound, and drawing is painting with colors or shades. It's all creation. It's all how you look at it, it's all how you approach it. If you let whatever your project is overwhelm you, if you keep telling yourself you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. But if you believe you can do it, you can do it. Now I make my own pasta, which we've gone through in one of the other episodes. For a dish like this, I haven't learned how to make elbows yet. So, like I said, my wife wants to cut her carbs down, so I found a great low-carb pasta. It's called Dreamfields. It's 5 grams of carbs per serving, and that's what we're going to be using tonight. As we get this together, when we come back, we're going to be putting the dish together complete. The next step we're going to be taking is putting in those fire roasted tomatoes. Now this can get a little tricky because you got to remember that pan's very hot. Oh yeah. Oh, I could eat that alone. Okay. So you want to be careful when you're getting these up. Don't burn yourself. Pan's about 400 degrees. But it doesn't look like much, but that does a lot to enhance the flavor of these tomatoes. A little extra step, which you don't have to take, but if you want your dish to be just that much better, it's worth the time. A little more effort, but your dish is going to be a lot better because of it. Get this safely out of the way to cool off. And it's simmering. Oh, this is delicious. One of the things you want to remember while you're cooking is taste, taste, taste. as you go along. Taste your dish. Make sure it's seasoned well and it is coming together the way you want it. That is good. Add salt and pepper as you feel it needs it. If you want, you can add a little more wine. No one's going to get mad at you for that. And there you have it. There's the base for our goulash. And when we come back, put the dish together and it's a tidy. See you soon. Alright, so now we're back. We're going to put the pasta together. Now you're going to get your water to a rolling boil like you see there. Once you got your boil going, now most people salt their water before they actually cook their pasta, but it's best to get that water rolling good and then add your salt. It's going to incorporate it with that water a lot better. Now, and it's also going to season your pasta. Now this particular pasta calls for 8 minutes. But what we're going to do is we're only going to cook it for about 6 minutes. Because we're going to be adding it to that hot sauce once this has been cooked up. And so it's going to continue to cook a little more when you get it in there. Now, if you don't plan on serving dinner for a while, it's okay. Cook your pasta for about 5 to 6 minutes. It'll be a little more than al dente, but that's okay. You're going to be putting it in that sauce base, mixing that up. You can turn your heat off, cover it, push it back, and let it sit. It'll cook the rest of the way, and by the time dinner rolls around, you're going to be all cleaned up, your dishes are going to be done and put away, you'll be ready to serve, and the only real cleanup you're going to have is going to be the dinner dishes, which if you have kids, you've got a work crew to do the dishes for you. And if they don't want to, well, you just take your laptop away or give them a good crack upside. No, you can't do that. Sorry, that's old school. But after they taste this, they'll be glad to do the dishes for you because they're going to think you worked your butt off to prepare this meal for them. The nice thing about learning to cook is you can control the garbage that your family is eating. A lot of people today tend to buy these processed meals from the frozen food section because most people are overwhelmed with cooking or they don't feel they have the time. Now I know people like my sister-in-law, they cook up their whole week's meals in advance. They package them up and stick them away in the refrigerator or the freezer, depending how far out it's going to be before they use them. And they're done with the cooking, but they're getting home cooked meals. They're controlling the amount of processing in their foods, giving their family a whole lot more nutrition. And the bottom line is you're going to get a better meal for the money that you're spending it in, more value for your dollar, and your family's going to love it. They're going to think you're an amazing cook. So don't let cooking overwhelm you. Find your comfort zone, start small, work your way up. Most of the recipes you'll find on my blog at chefblack.blogspot.com. That's it. Most of my recipes up there. Some of them are pretty sophisticated recipes, but you follow them step by step the way I've got them laid out. You pre-plan, pre-organize. You'll be surprised how well of a cook you really are. If cooking is something that you want to do and you're committed to wanting to do more of it, once you find the relaxation and the joy in creating your dishes, you're going to be doing a lot more cooking. There's a lot of references that you can go to on the internet or at Amazon or Barnes & Noble And you can get yourself a lot of good books about cooking for beginners. Teach you a lot of the good fundamentals that you need to know. And I'm telling you, if you commit to doing at least one good meal a week like this, or a beef stew, or something to that effect, plan out your procedure, get comfortable with how you're going to put your meals together and cook them. You do that once a week, before you know it, you're going to be cooking a lot more meals on your own, and you're going to wonder what you were so intimidated about for all those years. You're going to enjoy eating more, your family's going to get a better nutrition, and you're going to get a lot more value for your dollar, because this meal that we've put together here cost a total of less than $23, and it will feed 4 to 6 people. So break that down. You're talking less than $5 a person for a meal. You serve this up with a nice crusty bread and butter, a nice glass of Thomas Shaw wine, it's $3 a bottle, and you put together a practically gourmet dinner for your family, and they're going to wonder how you did it. Like I said, I used to be an electrician working in construction, and I cook pretty much most of the meals at home, and my wife doesn't complain one bit. And she'll tell you, she'd just take something out of the freezer and tell me to make something with it, and I'd say, what do you want me to do with it? I didn't know how to cook. But once I discovered, hey, I can do that, and you start educating yourself on the fundamentals and everything else to go along with it, before you know it, you'll be cooking things that will be restaurant quality food. I guarantee it. Now if you go to my blog, chefblack.blogspot.com, you'll find this and other recipes. And if you put them together and you try them, you like them, even if you don't like them, I'd like you to put your comments there, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Our pasta's done. We're going to drain that. When we come back, we're going to put this meal together and give it a taste. Okay, so as you can see, we got our pasta already. That's the rule. Now, after you cook your pasta and you drain it, don't rinse your pasta. A lot of people will tell you, rinse your pasta, keep it from sticking, whatever. You don't want to rinse your pasta, because that starch in there, excuse me, that starch is good to thicken up your sauce or whatever. So now you want to just add your pasta to the dish. Mix that in, get it good and incorporate it in your sauce. Now, like I said earlier, this pasta called for 8 minutes. We cooked it 2 minutes less, 6 minutes. Made it a little al dente, a little more than al dente. I should say a little less, hotter, because it's going to continue to cook while it's sitting in your hot sauce. So it'll soften up, and it doesn't matter if it gets even bigger and absorbs a lot of moisture and becomes a lot thicker. That doesn't matter. This is a goulash, so it's okay if it gets good and thick. Get it all mixed up in there like that. And that's what you're looking for right there. We'll give that a little taste. That's it. Spot on. When you're done with that, you'd never even know that that was a low-carb pasta. Now, when my wife sees this, the first thing she'd want to do is crack me over the head with a frying pan, because she just told me that she wanted to eat less carbs. And I actually saved the box so that I can show her. No dear, really? 5 grams per serving. When you got that done, take your Dutch cover oven, throw it on there, put it back on the stove, no heat. When you're ready to serve dinner, turn that back on low, stir it, make sure you don't burn or anything, keep it on low, let it slowly come up to heat, simmer for a little bit, get it nice and hot, cut up some crusty bread, serve it up. You found you're going to love it. There you have goulash a la Chef Black. Thanks a lot, hope you enjoyed it, see you on the next one.